Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures. It's time once again for, well, my favorite day of the week. I don't know about you guys. Besides the fact that it's Friday, it is also time for some obscurities in literature. And today we have the first book that I ever picked up by this artist, Sweet Dreams by Yamashita Shunya. Shunya Yamashita is a very prolific character designer. I remember him from back in the days. He was doing a lot of game design, character designs. And what's funny is this book was, I remember being originally billed as more of like his original illustrations and stuff, which there are in here. There are, definitely. But it's funny because like it's maybe the first third of this book, and then it's like a lot of his freelance stuff. And we'll get into that. But he really made his name for his quite provocative, very curvaceous ladies, of which the bulk of his books are probably in very little clothing. It's not the thickest book, but it is quite a nice one. And I have to be really careful as we turn the pages because there are copious, and I mean copious amounts of naked flesh. And while most of us hopefully don't have a problem with that, I certainly don't. The censors at YouTube might, so we'll have to be very careful with that. But one of the nice things is, and if you guys have seen enough of these videos, I mean, I love character design, sketch design, you know, that kind of background work that artists put in to these full finished pieces. So the fact that we have a lot of that stuff unobstructed is really nice. It would have been nice if the opposing page actually probably had some kind of, you know, little blurb, even if it's in Japanese. That would have been kind of cool, but sadly it's not. I guess that's one of those things that even going back to like when I first got the very first of Shiro's Intro and Depot books, you know, I really appreciated all of his commentary in the little captions all over the book, even if it was very self-depreciating. And what's interesting is, you know, a lot of this stuff kind of predates the collectible card game art market, but you can definitely see where some of those artists are going to be finding inspiration. I always put, what's his name? Yamashita here. Kind of, I lumped him in with like Katsuya Terada, Range Murata, those guys kind of known for their interesting and funky girl art. And just, yeah, they may not be wearing a whole lot, and it's very Kingdom Death-esque in that regard. But the design of how they're going about that, I always thought is really kind of cool. And yeah, there are a few gentlemen in this book as well. So if that's something you want to see, they're definitely there. And I mean, again, the designs, and one of these days we'll probably show you some of his actual design books where there's a lot of his actual sketch work. Most of this book is going to be finished pieces, of which they're quite nice. And again, like looking at the faces, I see like Murata, Tetsuya Karada, like those guys that did a lot of these similar style, interesting lady pinup type things. And again, I feel like some of this is almost borderline, you know, Kingdom Death style outfits, which, you know, like we're moving right along before we get caught for some of these. There's some really neat designs. And I mean, some of this stuff, like the style of it looks quite familiar. I can't exactly place where I've seen it. But then we start jumping into some of these like full page illustrations. And I think that's where he really kind of shines is, again, in his character design work, which is actually what, you know, he's well known for and famous for. Yeah, we're going to keep some of these. Now, this one I always loved because originally it gives off major vibes of like some of the American and Canadian, North American comic book artists that I've really enjoyed. Just the line work here rather than the actual painted stuff. It's just kind of more simplified coloring. Gives me a very Brandon Graham vibe, which is always cool. Again, some more like typical fantasy stuff is in here, which, you know, I'm always a fan. And the funny thing is, this is like absolutely post-1980s, but it has that early 80s vibe to it going, and there's quite a bit of that kind of stuff throughout the book. Again, as I just find select pieces. Some of these, like I said, look very familiar, and I can't place it. I know I've seen some of this stuff, but I don't know where. If you guys could recognize it, by all means, I would love to find out. I want to say some of this might be from Depth Fantasia, which was an old online game that I know he did a lot, and I mean a lot, of design work for. Some of this stuff looks almost borderline Valkyrie profile. Early 2000s, late 90s, Square Enix, which Depth Fantasia was an Enix game, so, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if there was some crossover there, and he might have been doing some work for it. Somewhere there's some... There we go. I was going to say, this is getting into Nipponichi stuff. Where is it? Where's that little red book? Phantom Kingdom. I remember that game. Do you? So, fun little book. Lots of naked girls. Lots of scantily clad girls. Lots of girls. If you like Kingdom Death style art, you're going to enjoy a fair amount of this book. As I have to find very specific pages to highlight and focus on. Like, nope. Just a nice... I can't remember my Hindu god's god. I'm sorry. So in the back, we do have a quick little breakdown of everything that's in here. But the guy's put out a ton of art books. And honestly, I don't think you can really go wrong with any. This one, while it is on the thinner side, like I said, I feel like it's kind of nice because you get the full page stuff. Whereas some of the other books, which we'll show off if you guys are interested, especially when he started doing like licensed stuff, Marvel characters, things like that, you know, a lot of it's more kind of cramped all over the page. So it is kind of nice to have this stuff given a full page to itself. So I guess good luck hunting for this stuff. I think when I first picked this up, I probably paid a whopping 400 or 600 yen. I'm sorry, guys. I know, like, looking at the cover price is 2,200 yen. So all I can say is happy hunting, because I know there's still some of those bookstores out there. Finding them in the States might be a little bit more challenging, but, you know, it's always worth hunting around. Sadly, I know I used to be a major proponent of going to Book Off. We had quite a few in Southern California. I think San Diego is now the only one that I can think of off the top of my head that even really carries Japanese books anymore in a well-stocked regard. I'm thinking, I know Costa Mesa for a long time did, but they don't anymore. So it's kind of sad. You know, I spent a ton of time hitting those stores when my kids were little. We'd clear out all the cool, interesting kids' picture books, bring back a whole stack, you know, 6 months later or something, and find something new. And we did that for quite a few years since they very first opened in the States, when it was still actually $1 a book, which was really cool. But yeah, times have changed, unfortunately. But like I said, I picked this up a couple years ago. You should be able to still find his stuff relatively reasonably priced if you do some serious shopping. I don't know about online. I haven't really looked, but now that I've got this, I'm kind of tempted. I know there was one that I don't own that did have a lot of licensed stuff and sketch work in it, but I now have like 4 or 5 of his books anyway. So like I said, if you guys are interested, I'll post some more. We got plenty of other character art books and illustration type manuals that I am sure we will be showing off soon enough. So with that said then, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.